Universal Sports coverage of the 74th World Hockey Championships from Cologne, Germany today. The final game of relegation round play for the United States and Italy from the Lanxess Arena in Cologne. John Allers along with Brian Hayward, glad to have you along. The American team riding a two-game win streak, making their way out onto the ice today to take on for the 7th time in World Championship history, Team Italy. And albeit a slim chance still existing this morning when the Americans woke up that they could be relegated in this tournament and taken out of the elite division, although a slim opportunity, a statistical possibility remains. You look at the relegation pool standings, Brian Hayward, the U.S. sitting on top, and today an opportunity for Italy to either win this pool or maybe end up being one of the two teams relegated.
Well, the bottom line heading into this game is quite simply the Americans have a dominant team relative to the Italians. They should have no difficulty with the Italian team if they play their game, and they don't want to end this tournament on a losing note. I don't think they would be relegated even if they were to lose this game. I think Italy would have to beat them by 8 goals for the Americans to have a shot at being relegated. That is not going to happen. Team USA is disappointed with their performance in this tournament. It's somewhat shocking to them that they are even in the relegation round. They want to finish strongly with a real good, solid game against Italy this afternoon.
Incidentally, the Italians were relegated in the 08 tournament the last time they participated in the World Championships and had to play their way out of Division I back in this year. They are trying to keep from having to do that once again. Simply put, if the United States gets a single point for head coach Scott Gordon here this afternoon, there is no possibility that they will be relegated in this tournament, and that would be an overtime loss or even an overtime victory for the Italians, who are coached by Rick Cornacchia, the 59-year-old Toronto native. He knows what he's up against. His team could end up relegated if they don't put together perhaps their game of the tournament here this afternoon.
He knows he has a very offensively challenged team. In fact, heading into this tournament, he said, most of my team is made up of third-liners from the Italian League, so not a lot of scorers in this lineup. For them to survive in this game, they have to get an outstanding goaltending performance from Daniel Bellissimo, and they've got to keep it close early on. They don't want this game to get away from them in the opening period.
The numbers are impressive for Scott Clemenson. He's 4th in this tournament with a goals against below 1.5. And Daniel Bellissimo has done just about all he can do for Team Italy so far in this tournament. Very impressive numbers at the other end. Another Toronto native.
Well, the stat that catches my eye, a 95 save percentage, is remarkable given the fact that the Italians are not considered one of the top 7 hockey-playing nations in the world, and so that's an indication of just how well he has played, because I can guarantee you he has faced an awful lot of grade A scoring opportunities in this tournament.
After going winless in pool play, the Italians have split 2 games in their relegation schedule, losing to the French 2-1 and then beating Kazakhstan on Sunday by the same score. We are underway at the Lanxess Arena in Cologne, and glad to have you along on Universal Sports. The Italians in blue with white numbers, the Americans in white with blue numbers. Jack Johnson, the leading ice time man for the Americans, brings it from behind his own net, and Oposo tips it into the Italian zone.
A couple of games ago, head coach Scott Gordon changed his defensive pairings a little bit, put the 2 Los Angeles Kings together, Matt Green along with Jack Johnson, and that remains the pairing to start this afternoon's game. And what that allows Jack Johnson is the freedom to always join the rush on the attack. Matt Green, more of a stay-at-home type of defender.
They began the tournament as defense pairing mates before being split up after the loss in overtime to Germany, as Bellissimo's first save of the game puts the puck out of play. Johnson picked up an assist, one of the 3 points he has in this tournament in the 4-0 U.S. win against the French 2 days ago.
Now, the only American player, John, that did represent the USA at the Vancouver Olympics, Jack Johnson, steps up to become captain of this team. And you know what? I think he's played very, very well. He's a +3 as a whole, and I think in general terms, he has been caught wandering too deep in the offensive zone on very few occasions.
First trip into the American zone of the afternoon for the Italians, and Captain Roland Ramasser puts it in behind the net. Clemenson plays it away, and the U.S. able to clear the zone. We mentioned an offensively challenged Italian team. They have only 6 goals in 5 games to date in this tournament, and they give up a lot of shots, Brian Hayward, nearly 40 a game thus far in these World Championships.
Yeah, 5 games for them. They've only got 3 total goals from their forward groupings, and you know what? All of them come off the same line. Eggers, Candela, and Souza. None of the other three forward lines have scored a single goal.
And that is pretty much the top line for Rick Cornacchia. The Americans stretch it into the Italian zone. Patolni from a bad angle off the side of the net as Bellissimo stayed on his feet to hold that near side post. Lundin can't hold it in and forced to retreat through neutral ice. DeMarchi pestering in the neutral zone. Gets some help from Souza, a couple of American-born players who represent Team Italy here. Overcomes Hofer to stamp into his man along the boards, and the puck loose behind the Italian goal. Retrieved by the Americans. Lundin, the Burnsville, Minnesota native, feeds it down low, and TJ Gagliardi plays it along. Patolni will allow Green to activate from the point, gives it to him as he steps off the goal line, tries to come to the front of the net. Loose at the side of the goal, and the game's first penalty upcoming. It's going to go against the Italians. Americans get Clemenson to the bench, and interference is the call.
Well, it's the other thing about this Italian team. Because they spend so much time in the defensive zone, they do tend to take a lot of penalties. First power play of the game coming up.
There is a little bit of sibling rivalry.
She come in and just clean out Eric Nystrom. Going to cost him a cross-check or an interference penalty, excuse me, John. And so the Americans head to the power play. Team USA, their power play has been very good in this tournament, actually. They've scored 6 power play goals in 19 opportunities. It's over 30%. It's the second best efficiency percentage in the entire tournament.
DeMarchi, a native of Bemidji, Minnesota, sits in the box for Team Italy. He played 4 years at the University of Minnesota. And Yandel with a long shot from the line that Bellissimo hangs on to. Keith Yandel second amongst defensemen in this entire tournament coming into tonight's action with 4 points. Has a power play goal for the Americans, but no traffic to help out the long-range shot.
Yeah, no problem for Bellissimo, who has said, John, going into this tournament that, you know, his personal goal in this event is to get noticed. He plays in the Italian League right now. He would love to play in a higher caliber league next season, and I think he's caught the eyes of a lot of scouts around the world.
He's just 25 years of age. He spent 3 years at Western Michigan University, so there's been a lot of scouts that have seen his game. He was voted Italy's best player in a 3-0 loss to the Swiss, a game in which he made 49 saves in pool play. And you talked at the top of the show, Brian, about the Italians needing him to stand on his head. That pretty much constitutes standing on your head, a 49 save effort.
Yeah, well, when you're a team that you can see from the Italians, John, that you know, they're not going to put a lot of pressure up ice. They're going to back up, try and plug as many lanes as they can in the neutral zone, but they will spend an awful lot of time in their own end, and that puts a ton of pressure on Bellissimo.
Gilroy's bid off the right corner board sticked into the netting, and still 49 seconds remaining in the American man advantage. Foligno and Gilroy, who share the goal scoring lead for the Americans with 3 each, out on the second unit for Scott Gordon's power play right now. And Brandon Dubinsky, who has just been nails in the face-off circle in this tournament. Dubinsky coming into tonight 6th in this tournament at 68.5% on draws, and he won that one. Foligno snaps it down low, and Dubinsky has it poked off his stick as Borgatello stepped into him and knocked it loose. Held at the line by Gilroy, who now walks the line and feeds it across. Green returns the favor, and Dubinsky top of the right circle with now 20 seconds left in the power play. Takes a wrist shot. Borgatello blocked that. Dubinsky able to recover it as he's bumped along the near side by the captain. Ramasur got it to the line. Gilroy held it in. His shot deflected by Foligno, and Bellissimo made the save. The Italians able to clear. That'll pretty much do it. The penalty winding down to DeMarchi as Gilroy steps into one that's kicked aside by Bellissimo out of the box. DeMarchi and the Italians full strength.
And the early going, Bellissimo has looked very, very comfortable. Look out here.
DeMarchi starts a 2-on-1 for the Italians, and Hofer didn't get anything on it. It was an easy glove save for Clemenson. A good recovery as the Americans got back into the shooting lane.
And this is why Rick Cornacchia spends a lot of time shaking his head, John, because this is a clean-cut 2-on-1 break for the Italians, and the pass across is actually very, very good. And you can see just stepping into the puck with an opportunity to take that shot is Hofer, but he never gets the shot through cleanly. He appeared to be partially blocked.
I'll give Andy Green credit. He got his stick over there at the moment of truth and may have gotten a piece of it. as Hofer didn't end up getting much on it at all. Souza tips one from the side of the net, but it's knocked away by the American defenders. And back comes Team USA. Christian Hansen battles it into the Italian zone. And Trevor Johnson, a native of Trail, British Columbia, clears the puck for Italy. Johnson spent 5 years plying his trade at the junior level in the Western Hockey League with Kootenay, Seattle, and Tri-City. 28-year-old who played for Bolzano in the Italian League this past season. Puck on the back of the American net. It's picked off of there by Jack Hillen.
No, Jack Hillen has seen his ice time increase virtually every game, John, and he's one of the American defenders who I think has really got better as this tournament has moved along. He's looked more comfortable. Keep in mind, this is always a big adjustment for players who, for the first time in their hockey careers, a lot of North American players are playing on the bigger ice surface. It is an adjustment.
Perhaps a comfort zone. He and Kyle Oposo, both of the New York Islanders, playing for their head coach, Scott Gordon, in this tournament. And that might make things a little easier for the coach to trust those particular players. Oposo, like Hillen, has gotten a lot of ice time for the Americans as well. Patulny has a bid that's steered aside. Bellissimo using the blocker to stop that one. 5th appearance in this tournament for Daniel Bellissimo for Team Italy. The goals against of just 1.8 entering tonight's action. The Americans in the relegation round have outscored their two opponents 14-0 and were scoreless just over 6.5 minutes into this one.
Bellissimo was a guy that was hoping to play and represent Italy in the Vancouver Olympics. Did not complete his immigration paperwork early enough, so set his sights on the World Hockey Championships instead.
He's backed up by Adam Russo tonight. Russo played in the IHL in the United States this season and actually was released by his team. He was waived by the Port Huron IceHawks, enabled to allow him to come over and play in this tournament, but he's backing up tonight. So far, no score between the Italians and Americans on Universal Sports.
You know at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Well, the Italian faithful, so far so good. Pleased as Team Italy, as Scott Gordon's Team USA deadlocked in a scoreless draw. Just over 7 minutes into it here at the Lanxess Arena in Cologne.
And you will notice that so far the Americans have been unable to get in behind the Italian defense, and that's a big part of the game plan for Rick Pernaccia. They'll give them a shot, but they don't want any Americans to have speed, get in behind the Italian defense. So no outnumbered attacks for Team USA thus far, and that is perfect in the mind of Rick Pernaccia.
And Brian, no real rebound opportunities for Team USA either. Bellissimo has been busy, but it's for the most part been one save and out. That initial shot from Johnson never got through. It did create a second opportunity, but the Italians able to ice it.
Best American forward in the tournament has been TJ Oshie. He has been consistent in terms of the way he has attacked not only the opposing team's net, but the way that he has forechecked opposing defenders as well. Ogie's been physical. He leads them in goal scoring. I really have admired his performance in this tournament.
Just 23 years of age from that hockey factory of Mount Vernon, Washington. TJ Oshie, pride of the St. Louis Blues. He sits as Bellissimo forced to make a save off that faceoff. And David Moss holds the line for the Americans, but not the second time. Manuel Gattoni able to nudge the puck out. And Fontani battles in front of the Italian bench, but loses the battle, and the Americans bring it back in. Now trying to curl and find some open ice. Nick Foligno. Moss misfired on a one-timer, and Hofer starts back. Trying to work it to the front of the net. Luca Ansoldi, but it was poked away by the paddle of the stick of Scott Clemenson. Clemenson hasn't been very busy. DeMarchi knocked down behind the net by Mike Lundin, and Moss tries to go up the middle but fails to clear. DeMarchi held it in. His shot through traffic makes its way to Clemenson. He couldn't cover it up. It was loose for a moment. Boy, a great opportunity for Rameser, and now the play whistled down for being played by a high stick.
Now, I don't think Scott Clemenson had any idea where that puck was. It was right on the doorstep And the Italians had a couple of cracks at it. It's Ramoser, John, that's right on the doorstep. He tries to sweep it in behind. DeMarchi was there as well. And at the end of it, I don't know, was there a penalty called against DeMarchi?
I thought the puck was played with a high stick. I don't believe it was a penalty. It was. So the faceoff coming outside the blue line. Ramoser, who had a good look at that rebound, playing in the World Championships. He first debuted for Italy back in 1994. Part of the reason he wears the captaincy for this team. And there's another player, Strasabasco, that we expect to see an awful lot of and call his name a lot tonight here for Italy. Hazy, a couple of years ago, he scored the game-tying goal against the Slovenians at the end of the relegation round in '06 to help the Italians avoid relegation. Almost the exact same circumstance they find themselves in here this evening.
And these 5 players that are on the ice right now for the Italians, Egger, Scandella, Souza, and the defensive pairing of Strasabasco and Plastino, this is literally putting all your eggs into one basket for Rick Cordaccia. Those 5 players are the only guys who have contributed any offense for the Italians in the entire tournament so far, so he gets them all on the ice at the same time, and he's got to find a way to squeeze a goal or 2 out of that group and then maybe have someone else kick one in.
Just over 9 minutes in now to the opening period. Scandella knocked down by Jack Johnson, who's going to go for a tripping minor here, and the first power play of the afternoon for Team Italy, as Johnson doesn't like the call, and he gets an escort to the sin bin.
Well, Giulio Scandella almost looked guilty, actually, when he hit the ice. Watch this. He steps inside of Johnson and a little... Oh, you know what? You look at it from that angle, and you do see that the stick of Jack Johnson got in between the legs of Scandella. Didn't take a lot to send him to the ice, but here is the Italian opportunity with the power play.
Scandella, a native of Montreal, one of 8 different Canadian-born players on this Italian roster. And the first power play of the afternoon for Team Italy. 17.7% on the tournament. They are 6th overall. And the American penalty kill just hasn't been called upon a whole lot. Just the 13th time the U.S. has been asked to kill off a disadvantage in this tournament.
Only Finland, John, has taken fewer minor penalties heading into action today than the Americans. Been a very disciplined showing from Team USA.
Tibetan sets up out high with Margoni and Marchetti down low for Italy, but they turn the puck over in the corner, and the Americans able to send it the length of the ice. Borgatello handles it from behind the net. He was voted Italy's best player in their win over Kazakhstan. He had a goal in that game and now leads it ahead. Strasabasco misfired on his pass, and it'll be easily sent the length of the ice by Team USA. Now the Italian power play halfway over.
You know, the Italians lost to France by a score of 2-1 in a game that they actually outplayed the French, had way more scoring chances, way more shots on goal, and feel that French netminder Fabrice Lannery really stole the game, and they're going to look back on that loss, John, as the reason why they will ultimately, I believe, get relegated. They needed to beat the French in order to stay in the top division.
Speaking of the French, they play Kazakhstan today in the other game in the relegation pool. That'll be the final 2 games, including this one in relegation round play. The Italians have spent the last minute of this power play in their own zone or chasing the puck, and now have only 15 seconds remaining in their first man advantage. DeMarchi up the right side, in behind the net, still possesses the puck as he drops it back off. No one in front for the Italians as Egger turned around but didn't have a passing option. DeMarchi with a long shot, blocker to the corner by Clemenson. The penalty is over. Johnson out of the box. The Americans full strength, and they try to lead it to him as he steps out of the box. DeMarchi tugging on him as he goes after it deep in the Italian zone. Egger stripped there by Foligno. So both teams have come up empty on a first period power play opportunity. And there's no score as Foligno is dumped by DeMarchi, who's going to get his second penalty of this first period, and he can't believe it.
He's a big guy. You see DeMarchi, but I mean, this is a pretty obvious penalty call against him, and another USA power play upcoming. A roughing penalty.
6'4". You mentioned his size. A second-round draft pick of the New Jersey Devils, Brian, back in 2000. Spent 4 years in the American Hockey League, so he knows that North American style as he shows it off there.
Yeah, and that was a tough call because he did not make contact with the head of the American forward, and usually the only reason why they would make that call under those circumstances.
And the Americans score. Dubinsky with a bullet from the left circle, just 9 seconds into the power play. And what a tournament it has been for Brandon Dubinsky, the leading scorer in the entire tournament entering today's play. He's put the Americans on top.
Yeah, costly penalty and a tough call that goes against the Italians. You know what? Dubinsky just recognizes that the screen is set up right in front of Bellissimo, and so he's going to get a hold of this puck, take one stride forward, and then just rip it. David Moss goes to the front of the net. He's blocking out the sun, and so Dubinsky says, okay, I've got a little space here. See the gap? Way too much space. Strasabasco backed off, allowing Dubinsky to get a little bit of forward momentum, and that forward momentum makes all the difference in the world. But you see, Bellissimo never saw that puck. David Moss does a great job of screening the goaltender, and boy, from that angle, what a shot it was by Dubinsky.
For the third straight game, the Americans strike first. A power play goal, third goal of the tournament for Dubinsky. And the Americans with a 1-0 lead. Right back into the Italian zone they work. Carter feeds it out to the line. Shot deflected straight up in the air. Hansen collects it, gives it back to Carter, who put it in behind the net. Tim Kennedy trying to water bug his way away from the Italian defender. Nicholas Plastino knocked him down, and Plastino able to work the puck ahead. Fontanive sends it into the middle of the ice. Plastino gains the line. Winds and fires with Rameser heading to the net, but that shot deflected harmlessly out of play. The Americans have struck first on the power play. They lead Italy in the first period 1-0 here on Universal Sports.
Thinking
Points in this tournament, they have all come in the last 3 games, including his second power play goal of the tournament moments ago that has put the United States on top.
Well, Dubinsky is doing what he does best, which is to play a very simple game, John. You know, when the shot is there, take it, go to the front of the net. You mentioned the fact that he's been terrific in the face-off circles, and he's been absolutely dominant, which is a big part of the reason, I think, why the U.S. special teams have been so good in this tournament.
I think you could make a case for saying that obviously Brandon Dubinsky has been the best player for Team USA so far in this tournament.
Dubinsky and Oshie have definitely been their best forwards. There is no question. I think Jack Johnson has had a very, very strong tournament. Matt Green's been good as well.
Johnson handles it off the face-off win, doesn't have a shooting angle, so he just keeps it deep in the zone, and the Italians bring it back. Michael Souza, by way of the University of New Hampshire, sends it ahead, and the Italians get one in, that one off the post. Clemenson appeared fooled by that shot.
I think the puck changed direction. I think it went off a leg or a foot of a USA defender, and boy, Scott Clemenson is breathing a huge sigh of relief.
Clemenson, who made only 10 saves en route to a shutout against Team France here 2 days ago. Certainly one of the more pedestrian shutouts you'll see.
Well, 2 consecutive shutouts for Scott Clemenson.
He only went the first 2 periods in the 10-0 shellacking of the Kazakhs, as Ben Bishop got the other half of that shared shutout. But the Italians trying to put a little more pressure on than the French did, and they're going to need to if they hope to compete here this afternoon. Scandella rolls it in behind the net. Oh, Clemenson got caught behind the goal, and Oshie to the rescue on that one.
And Taylor Chorney a little bit too dangerous with that puck when his goaltender was sitting behind the goal line.
Into the middle of the Italian zone. The puck lay there momentarily. Kyle Oposo comes up with it, but his pass back will clear the zone and go all the way down. Now under 6 to go in the first period. The aforementioned Chorney out of the University of North Dakota sets up behind the U.S. goal. The Americans on top of Italy 1-0. John Ollers and Brian Hayward, glad to have you along. U.S. and Italy from the Lanxess Arena in Cologne, Germany. Final game of relegation round play in the 2010 World Hockey Championship. Nice job at the point to hold it in there by Yandel. Speaking of American defensemen who've had a good tournament, I think Keith Yandel certainly qualifies there. Hillen's shot from the left point is blocked. And he tries to knock it away from Iannone. And loose in front. Boy, Hillen nearly came up with it at the top of the blue paint.
Yeah, the Italians quite guilty, John, of kind of playing at the end of their sticks down low in the defensive zone, not taking the body, not moving people away from the front of their own goal crease.
Yandel plays it across. That vacates the line, so Hillen forced to retreat, and the Americans will regroup as both teams go for changes. Margoni broke up the pass in the neutral zone, but Dubinsky was there to pick it up for Team USA. A rather undersized Italian team. They have 13 players, Brian, on this roster that are under 180 pounds. Never mind the size factor of how big, from a height standpoint, some of these players are. They just don't have that much girth.
So they better be fast. And they certainly better be adept at moving the puck.
2-on-1 for Team USA, and Kennedy nearly got it off the pads of Bellissimo. Back the other way, Stefano Marchetti moves it ahead. Borgatello joins the play, and his shot off the boards is held long enough by Clemenson to draw a whistle.
Smart play by Scott Clemenson. Just hang on to it. The Italians with the offensive zone face-off.
Oh,
there's that play. Boy, it goes off the stick to Jack Johnson. And Giulio Scandella almost gets a gift. It's off the short side post. First big break of the hockey game belongs to Scott Clemenson and the Americans.
Scandella, a veteran of 4 years in the Quebec Major Junior League before coming over to play in Italy here for the last 6 years. Trevor Johnson wanders back for the Italians, but he's bumped off the puck, and the Americans recover it. Patoni comes up with it, a Nystrom shot. I believe Bellissimo got a piece of, but we got a penalty on the scrum in front of the net that's going to go against Team Italy.
And surprise, it's DeMarchi again, John.
Wow.
His third minor penalty of the opening period. This one is a hook for Matthew DeMarchi.
Give him credit, he's kind of run the gamut so far. Interference, roughing, now hooking. He's maybe halfway home.
Well, you might have a tough time getting back on the ice. Team USA with an opportunity here to expand the lead.
Their lone goal in this game came while DeMarchi was sitting there in the penalty box. The US 1 for 2 on the power play so far this evening. And boy, has their power play been productive in this tournament. They have 7 power play goals in 6 games.
2 minutes penalty for hooking. Time 16 minutes, 22 seconds.
Forced to start from deep in their own zone. Jack Johnson, the native of Indianapolis, moves it ahead, and the Americans gain the Italian line. Johnson with it once more. He and Yandel, separated by about 10 feet now, try to spread it a little more across the top of the zone. Americans umbrella the power play. Johnson just takes the shot, and that was off the glove of Bellissimo.
It's a different looking U.S. power play at the start of this game, John. They always have someone set up at the top of the goal creases. It's not unlike what the Detroit Red Wings do with the Thomas Holmstrom. Put a player there and just stand there. Screen the goaltender.
Yandel let it fire. Oshie was trying to screen, but Bellissimo made the stop.
It's not what you expect to see necessarily when you're on a power play on a bigger ice surface like this. Typically, you have more space. Teams like to move the puck around a little bit more and set up for the one-timer. And you know what we've seen in this tournament is we've seen an awful lot of power plays where the goaltenders get real good looks at shots because there isn't that player stationed right at the top of the doorstep.
40 seconds now remains in the American man advantage. Moss across the line. Gilroy tried to poke it ahead. And now Dubinsky comes up with it at the line. He held it in only momentarily before it was cleared away by Marchetti. 2 minutes to go first period as Gilroy flips it to the corner. Dubinsky gives chase, beaten to it. He tried to seal it off along the wall, but it was cleared through him and all the way down. Clemenson stretches it ahead with both teams changing, and David Moss rims it around back into the Italian zone. 10 seconds left in the American man advantage. Patoni has it in his skates. moves it along for Dubinsky. Moss behind the net, returns the favor. The penalty is over. DeMarchi out of the box, and he'll pick up the loose puck. The Italians full strength. U.S. now 1 for 3 on the power play. DeMarchi goes to the net as he drops the puck off, and Scandella forced out of the zone.
DeMarchi just wants to get back to the Italian bench before he takes another penalty, John. He joined the rush, but in the back of his mind, I'm sure he was thinking, okay, if I can't get a shot right away, I'm getting back to the bench.
Hansen drops it off. Carter brings it with him. All lost the handle, had to reach back, and then his backhand bid missed the net. Under a minute to go in the opening period. The U.S. and Team Italy in Cologne at the Lanzas Arena, and a big collision involving Matt Green sends Green's stick, or no, it was the Italian player who lost his stick. It went flying. Scandella had to go back and get it, and that enables the Americans to come up with a loose puck. Kennedy clearing the zone.
Well, this has not been a very physical opening period until this shift. A huge open ice hit by Matt Green, and it really does favor the American squad, John, when their players play ultra physical.
Italians keep the puck in, and a backhand shot from high in the zone glances off a couple of skates and wide. Iannone unable to recover it. Patrick Iannone out of Fruitvale, British Columbia. Big scorer in the Italian league. Meantime, Nystrom tries to just walk it into the Italian crease, and that went off the side of the goal. Margoni unable to get the pass from Iannone at the American blue line, and that'll do it. The opening period comes to a close, and the Americans with a 1-0 lead.
I think both coaches will be satisfied with the opening period. Scott Gordon's got the lead. You got a power play goal, and on the other half of the equation, I think Rick Cornacchio would take just being down by a single goal.
Ask me.
Even if you think you're Matt.
Team USA on top in Cologne, Germany at the Lanzas Arena. 1-0 over Team Italy after one period of play, and the final action of the tournament for both of these teams. The Americans with the better of the play and the better of the opportunities, primarily because they had 3 power plays.
Yeah, and they
Do you want? And Italy nothing after one period of play. Brandon Dubinsky has the game's only goal. It came on the power play. We mentioned this is the final day of play in the relegation pool here. It's also the final day of action in the qualification round. And we want to remind you that we will have quarterfinal action here on Universal Sports beginning at 2 o'clock Eastern on Thursday. The 8 teams of the 12 that move on from the quarterfinals will then pair off in single elimination form beginning on Thursday, and then the medal round Saturday and Sunday, Brian.
And to this point in the tournament, you have got to like the looks of the Russian team. Undefeated at this point. They have 15 players that played for them at the Vancouver Olympics. So in terms of top-end talent, they've got way more of it than any other of the big 7 teams here in Germany.
And chemistry, I think you make an interesting point. 15 guys that played together, albeit 3 months ago in a tournament, but you know, that does equate to chemistry compared to most of these teams, national teams, that were put together 2, 3, maybe 4 days before they actually had to compete.
Good stop by Clemenson, and to continue on with that train of thought, and 15 guys that feel like they have an awful lot to prove in this tournament as well. It was not a good showing for the Russians in Vancouver, who left without a medal.
Speaking to team chemistry, where Team Italy is concerned, they do have 5 players on this team that played together this past year in the Italian League for the champion Asiago. Strasabasco, Parco, whom we've yet to really see much of tonight, DeMarchi, Bellissimo, the netminder, and the defenseman Plastino, all members of that Italian championship team. So a little bit of chemistry for those 5 players where that is concerned, as Italy is looking for the equalizer early on here in the second period.
Strasabasco was asked about that fact, and he said, well, don't read too much into the fact that we won the championship, because the reason why we won is that Bellissimo was phenomenal. He was the MVP of the playoffs in the Italian League.
The Americans come into the Italian zone. Johnson's one-time shot blocked to the corner, and it's led back the other way. Christian Borgatello trying to split the defense at the blue line, and the pass drew Rameser offside. And the whistle will bring a stoppage in play.
When you think about this game, a 1-0 lead is far from a comfortable lead for Team USA. If the Italians kind of hang around, John, and just chip away, and as I said, I used the term kick one in. Well, anyone other than their top line may have to kick one in, but you know, if they keep working hard, they hit one post against Clemenson in the opening period on kind of a broken play. Their coach, Rick Cornacchia, said, I can't believe that Team USA is in the relegation round. We never expected that we would be playing a team of this caliber, and if we're going to have any success in this game, we're going to have to get a bunch of breaks.
Dubinsky's shot steered aside by Bellissimo and recovered by Foligno. Foligno, 3 goals in this tournament, have all come in the last 2 games. The Americans break up a pass in the middle of the ice, and Moss brings it back in. Dubinsky keeps it alive, gets it back from Moss, takes it behind the net, looks in front for Foligno, doesn't have a passing lane. Instead, back to the line, and shot ends up off the side of the Italian goal. Keln leans into a one-timer, and Bellissimo fights it off and then swats the rebound to the corner.
You know, Bellissimo, like a lot of European goaltenders, spends a lot of time on his knees, but boy, is he ever good at, while down on his knees, John, getting a skate edge into the ice. He gets a good, powerful push. He moves laterally very, very well.
I figured you'd be a big fan of his, Brian. He played 3 years in the Ontario Provincial Junior Hockey League, including a stint with the Georgetown Raiders.
My hometown.
Yeah. Got a pull for a hometown boy.
It's interesting, you know, we mentioned that he went to Western Michigan. We got a hooking penalty coming up here against Eric Nystrom. We mentioned that, you know, Bellissimo left college to turn pro in the Italian League. And he said, quite honestly, that the dollars were there, the opportunity was there. I wanted to turn pro, and I knew I would probably have to work my way up from the lower professional leagues in Europe. And he's done a good job. I mean, it's pretty much played out exactly the way he envisioned it. He's gone to Italy. He's been a dominant player over there. He's now hoping that perhaps the Finnish League or the Swedish Elite League or even the Continental League will give him a chance next year.
Well, here's that hook. You called it. Nystrom trailing Johnson from behind the net, and he got the stick caught up inside Trevor Johnson's arm. And for the second time in this game, the Italians will have a power play opportunity. Scott Gordon's team has taken an average of under 6 minutes in penalties a game so far in this tournament, and that is just their second minor penalty tonight.
Well, you mentioned that Team Italy has 6 goals heading into action, John, so in their 5 games, 3 of them have come on the power play. So it's the same story with a lot of the lower echelon teams in this tournament. They don't have a lot of depth, but they're high-end talent. The players that are usually on the ice when they do have a power play can be pretty dangerous.
The Americans do have a shorthanded goal in this tournament. And they are 11 of 13 on the penalty kill. Entering tonight's action, they were 9th in this tournament in penalty killing acumen. Plastino keeps it in on the right side of the American zone. Michael Souza kicks it up. Souza has 4 points in this tournament. Number 27 in blue. That leads all Italian players. But he can't win that puck battle. Matt Green sends it to the line, and now it bounces to Johnson. Trying to lead it ahead shorthanded. Couldn't connect with Ryan Carter. Back comes Team Italy, and a long shot from the top of the right circle off the stick of Scandella is held by Clemenson.
Well, good decision by Scandella just to put that puck on the net. He was trying to use the defenseman as a screen, and he just kind of pulls it into his wheelhouse, and look where he shoots that puck. Just outside of the leg of Matt Green. The goaltender is well positioned, and he just absorbs that shot in his midsection.
Scandella has one of the 3 Italian power play goals in this tournament. Fontanive is chased from the circle. And stepping in is Ansoldi to take his place. Luca Ansoldi, who's had a tough tournament. -6 entering tonight's action. Goes to the front of the net as Rameser collects the puck and leaves it off for him now in the corner. They cycle out of the left corner, and it's Ansoldi who tries to step in front now. Still with it behind the net. Borgatello tries to return it to him, but the pass was airborne. He couldn't knock it down. The Americans will clear.
That was a nice looking play. Lots of motion. Borgatello came down off of the right point, and he was in a dangerous position. Unfortunately, Ansoldi just could not get him the puck.
Just over half a minute remaining in the second Italian power play of the evening. Ansoldi all the way to the right corner. Roland Rameser had it for a moment behind the net. The 37-year-old captain of this Italian team. And now Ansoldi with it once more. Final 15 seconds of the power play, and that shot glancing off a stick comes across the zone. Rameser battling there with Mike Lundin. Ansoldi wins the puck.
What a shift for Ansoldi and Rameser.
Bouncing puck that Marchetti can't get to the net. And the penalty expires to Nystrom, and just as it does, Ansoldi is called, I believe, for a hook as he was trying to come up ice on the back check. He doesn't like the call, but nonetheless, he will get an escort and get the gate, giving the Americans their 4th power play.
Yeah, in some of our previous games, John, we've talked about the fact the standard is a little bit looser here in terms of the hooking calls that are made, but you know, that's an obvious call for the official. Ansoldi waves his hand and says no way, but you know, when you strip a defenseman of the puck, and that was Taylor Chorney who was moving up ice in the neutral zone, and you strip the puck away from him by making contact with the hands, that's going to get called every time.
The Italians able to clear. Team USA 1 of 3 with the extra man so far this evening. They lead 1-0. And they gain the Italian line. Moss hands it off on the half wall. And now Johnson comes out, takes a wrist shot that was blocked, never made it to the Italian goal. And back comes Team Italy. DeBetton flips it the rest of the way as Team USA enjoying a better than 2-to-1 shots on goal advantage to this point. Dubinsky couldn't get the pass out of his skates, but does head man it. And Foligno gains the line. Johnson fakes the shot, gives it to Foligno on the left wing half wall. Steps into the middle, behind the net for Dubinsky. Dubinsky looks across the slot, doesn't have a passing lane for Moss, so back to the point. Johnson and Yandel manning the points right now. Yandel lets one go, and that sticks to Bellissimo.
Good stop by Bellissimo. David Moss, once again, the American forward, hanging around the top of the goal crease. Moss kind of stands to the side this time, and so you can see that Bellissimo gets a pretty good look at it. Both Moss and Foligno took a wave at it. Both were unable to make contact.
Bellissimo played in 39 games for the eventual Italian League champion Asiago this season. He had a .936 save percentage through a 39-game regular season as the net is off behind Clemenson. You talked about his save percentage in this tournament being even better than that, .950. I find it hard to believe that Bellissimo maybe won't be noticed between his regular season play this year and this tournament when it is all said and done.
Well, it will be interesting to see where he ends up next year. He's still a young guy. He's got lots of years ahead of him. 25 years old. You know, people talk about a lot of goaltenders that don't really come into their prime until they reach their upper 20s.
Listed at 6'2", he has decent size. And he's kept the Italians within a goal in this one. The Americans still on the power play for another 35 seconds, but having a little trouble gaining the zone. Green forced to hinge it back. Changes for the Italian shorthanded unit. And the Americans bring it in. Gagliardi for Oshie on the left side of the zone. Back for Green. That's Andy Green of the New Jersey Devils. And now Oshie went off of a Poso as he tried to get it into the middle, and it was fished out of his feet and sent to the corner by the Italian penalty killers. Back to the line, Green lets it go off a leg wide. And Johnson collects it behind the net for Team Italy. The penalty will expire, and the Italians full strength. The Americans now 1 for 4 on the power play.
That's a bad turnover right there by Oshie inside the blue line. Second period, where that is the worst possible spot that you can lose possession of the puck, but an indication that, we've talked about it, John, there's not much of an offensive threat in this Italian lineup, even when you do make a mistake.
And Soldi's pass glancing through the slot, and Clemenson has to make a save on Plastino. Still 1-0 Team USA. Followers of the Americans on hand in Cologne at the Lanxess Arena. Team USA leading the Italians 1-0 as we approach the halfway mark of the hockey game. What was it you said? To put the Americans in any discomfort for relegation, the Italians needed to win by 8 goals today?
Yeah, can't see that happening.
Not the way this one's gone so far. Nystrom bowling his way to the Italian net. His shot went off the side of the goal. He went into the Bellissimo and the net. And the faceoff will come back outside the blue line.
And then he did the referee the who me look as the collision with the goaltender. Clearly unintentional, not really. Bellissimo takes a shot, and because Nystrom was ruled that he initiated the contact, interesting to see where this face-off takes place. Yeah, they take it outside the blue line because the ruling is that Nystrom was not pushed into the goaltender and knocked the puck off the mooring.
Puck high in the air and into the American zone. Picked up by Fontanive, and his shot goes right through the crease. Plastino steps up, and we're going to get a roughing call against Team USA. Plastino was bumped, or maybe even punched in the head as he came over to play that by Matt Green, who will get the gate, a roughing minor at 8:23 of the middle period.
Well, it's one thing that we see that they really crack down on in these World Hockey Championships, John, and that is contact with the head. And I don't believe that that was the actual penalty call against Matt Green. That looked like a pretty good hit to me. But there was another altercation right in front of the American goal crease.
So another golden opportunity for the Italians here. 0 for 2 on the power play today, and a chance to tie this game as we're halfway through it. Luca and Soldi up the right side, gets the red line, faked the hard around, and then carried it in, and he faked everyone, including his blue-clad Italian teammates.
And so right now, the head coach, Rick Cronacci, has got all his big guns on the ice. They're probably going to play on a 2-minute power play. His top line will probably play about 90 seconds. As I mentioned, this is the group that is capable of scoring a goal.
Fontanive takes the draw. Top face-off man in this tournament for Rick Cornacci's Team Italy has been Manuel Dettoni at 57%, but we haven't seen a whole lot of him in the face-off circle so far. Here's Ansoldi splitting the D, and a big save by Clemenson. It's banded about as the puck was in midair for quite a while, and I believe we're going to get a ruling it was played by an Italian high stick, which will force the face-off back outside the zone.
Now, Luca Ansoldi looking for his first goal of the tournament. And this is some good puck movement here by the Italians. They throw it into the middle. They split the American defense. And Soldi with the shot. Good save by Clemenson with the blocker. Big rebound. You can see that Jack Hillen came in late. Actually bounced off of his helmet and out of harm's way.
Tim Kennedy trying to rag it back for the American penalty kill and work a little bit of that time off the penalty clock. Jack Johnson back for Kennedy. Just over a minute remaining in the minor penalty to Green as it's poked away at the side of the Italian net by Bellissimo. Up the right side, the Italians able to gain the zone. Ager sends it across, and the shot caroms back to him. Alexander Ager trades places as he fires it down low. And to the line, Strazabasko's shot is blocked by Nystrom. Strazabasko steps up, tries to keep the puck alive in the zone. Taylor Chorney had it knocked away by Michael Souza.
Well, the Italians have won a few puck battles here, John, which has given their power play second and third opportunities.
And a little more zone time to boot. Plastino slides it across. Strazabasko returns the favor, and the touch pass to no one in general in the corner from Plastino is cleared back by Team USA.
And the American penalty killers were gassed at that point. So that was a very important clear for them. Second period of play, long change.
Now 3 for 3 on the penalty kill is Team USA, as a la soccer move. Strazabasko plays it back to his netminder, Bellissimo. You got to stay alert as the netminder if that's the case. Offside is the call as Margoni, sends the shot in after the whistle.
Difference is in hockey, the goaltender is allowed to use his hands when the ball is passed back to him. As we've talked about it, I think Cornacchio is feeling quite good about the way his club has performed in this game, John. They have not been dominated. Bellissimo has been good. He has not had to have been great. And when you look at the scoring chances that Team USA has had, very few open chances for them.
Foligno drops one off, and it's steered by the blocker to the corner by Bellissimo, then gets down to make a stick save on Lundin's rebound bid. Well, the reputation of the Italians is of a very hard-working group of players. This is a team that knows they have to grind whenever they get involved in international competition, and their compete level is never questioned.
Well, and they're disciplined, not so much in terms of not taking penalties, but they're disciplined in the sense that they're staying on the inside of the players that they are checking. So, you know, they're close to them. They're not the biggest guys, so positioning is ultra important for them. And they seem to be on the right side of the puck defensively for the most part.
Cornacchio is known for his defensive style when it comes to his coaching philosophy. Always stresses a solid defensive system. So far, so good. And here's a chance. Jumping into the play, Oberock, the defenseman, who jumps up. And Clemenson made the save. We haven't seen much of Max Oberock at all, and he was off to the races that time.
A little bit of fresh legs, perhaps. Oshie pulls the puck in behind the net, out of harm's way, but the Italians are coming with a little bit more pressure now, John, in this second period.
And perhaps fresh legs. We mentioned we hadn't seen much of Oberock. He was out on a line there with John Parco, whom we didn't see much of, if at all, in that opening period as well. Parco, a longtime veteran of the Italian national team, 38 years of age, a former draft pick of the Philadelphia Flyers. As Bellissimo sticks one out of play with an even 8 minutes now remaining in the second period.
Well, lots of time left. Italy just hanging around. They've got a few more opportunities in this period. Some good, look at that play, the hands of TJ Oshie, but then, you know, it's a bad pinch. And away to the races goes Oberock, and Max Oberock got a lot on that shot. Good save by Clemenson.
Face-offs again dominated by the Americans, as they have throughout this tournament. Patolny in particular, who won that draw, coming in to tonight's action, 5th in this tournament, just a shade under 70% through the first 5 games of World Championship play for the Americans. He has it in the corner right now as he sneaks away from Plastino. Nystrom can't get it back to him, and the Italians with good inside position, able to clear the zone. Ramasser sends it back, and the Americans regroup with now 7:20 to play in the second period. In Cologne, Germany, 1-0. Team USA has the lead. And Soldi knocked down the hard pass from Fonteneve, but he couldn't settle it for a shot. And back the other way, the Americans, Chris Kreider, the 19-year-old out of Boston College, native of Boxford, Massachusetts, battles in the near corner, along with DeMarchi.
The only college player in the Team USA lineup. Everybody else plays in the National Hockey League.
We haven't seen a lot of DeMarchi in this second period after he took those 3 minor penalties in the first. He may have made his way out of the Chateau Bow Wow for the first time here in this second period, over 13 minutes into it. Ager's pass back in the American zone, taken away by Carter, and he leads Kennedy into the Italian zone. Tim Kennedy gets it back for Ryan Carter behind the net for Team USA. He still possesses as he brings it high in the zone, leaves it off for Hillen. Hillen looks at Yandel, then spins away from pressure, walks right in on goal. His shot is blocked. And failing to clear, boy, a bit of a lazy-looking play by Scandella. He had all day and a lot of room to clear it, and he went up the middle and gave it away. The Americans able to keep a dancing puck on the blue line and then retreat. And it's Scandella who gets behind the defense and scores! Oh, my! Julio Scandella living right after what looked like a bad turnover at one end, goes the other way and ties the game.
Team USA gets sloppy, and the Italians seize their opportunity. 2 players putting pressure on the final American defender. And Scandella gets to a loose puck and walks in on a breakaway. Clemenson will go fishing on the poke check. But Tim Kennedy was dragging the puck back towards his own blue line. Scandella gets to the puck. As Kennedy falls, he waits for the goaltender to commit. And Clemenson goes for the poke check. And it's the old story as a goaltender, John, when you go for that poke check and you miss, really bad things happen. The Italian bench celebrates as they have now tied up the Americans.
And Scott Gordon's expression says it all. Give credit to Michael Souza, the former draft pick of the Chicago Blackhawks. He was able to strip that puck away from Kennedy. And then he ran a little interference for Scandella at the blue line, and he'll get the lone assist on the goal that has tied the game for the Italians here with now under 6 to play in the second period.
Yep, second goal of the tournament for Scandella. It's the big line again that gets it done for Team Italy.
Now they're looking for that kick-in you were talking about earlier.
That's absolutely right. You want to believe that that Italian bench is completely energized right now. I mean, there's only 5 minutes left to go here in the second period, and they are staying right with Team USA.
Borgatello backhands it up the boards and out of the zone. Christian Borgatello, number 50 in blue, is the best player for the Italians in their win over Kazakhstan. And the Italians are only 1 goal away from a win against the Americans, although there's a long way to go on Universal Sports.
Scandella, who has tied this game up for the Italians. Sweet little move by Scandella on the breakaway. And all of a sudden, boy, you saw the Italian bench. Everybody was up. You know, there is a marked difference, John, in the 2 energy levels right now in this game. Team USA not having their best game. The Italians are hanging in.
You mentioned second goal of the tournament for Scandella. 26-year-old Montreal native had only 1 goal in 11 games playing in the Swedish Elite League this year. So it's been a good tournament for Scandella. He and the Italians knotted at 1 with Team USA now under 5 to go. Second period at the Lanxess Arena in Cologne, Germany. Final action of the tournament for both of these teams. And for the Italians, perhaps their final action in the World Championships for at least another year, unless they can steal a victory here. Gagliardi can't connect as he tries to knife his way through the neutral zone. And the Italians clear it back. The other game in the relegation pool today going on right now, France leading Kazakhstan early in the second period. The French on top 3-2. Kazakhstan must have that game to have any hope to create a 3-way tie at the bottom of the pool, but a lot of things must happen there. The Americans would have to win here, and Kazakhstan would have to come from behind and defeat the French.
Yeah, and we referred to it earlier with the French defeating the Italians by a score of 2-1. It puts them in a great position, and my goodness, Scott Clemenson making everyone a little bit nervous, John, when he leaves that goal crease to handle the puck.
No, that is one area that has been a bit of an adventure for Clemenson in this tournament when he's handled the puck behind the net. And a little change, there's no trapezoid there that he's accustomed to at the National Hockey League level, and maybe a little more freedom sometimes can be a bad thing. You can play that puck anywhere. in this tournament as a goaltender, as opposed to the rules at the National Hockey League level.
You got to have a little bit further to go. There's a little bit more space in behind the goals, between the back of the net and the board. So whenever you do leave the goal crease, you know, if you're not used to playing on the big ice surface, it just feels a little bit uncomfortable.
I think we're going to get coincidental minor penalties here, as that was taking place back in the neutral zone. Jack Johnson has a seat in the penalty box for the Americans. The indication, a slash one way and a rough the other way.
It's Johnson for slashing, and Scandella
will go for the Italians. Let's see if we can pick it up here. And they'll get a couple of minutes to cool off, as we're in the final 3+ minutes of this second period.
I don't think it will upset Scott Gordon in the least if Team USA can play a little bit of 4-on-4 hockey, open up the ice a little bit. He needs to get a few more of his key players involved in this game. It has been a quiet game for the likes of Gagliardi and Oposo in particular.
One of the big question marks for Italy coming into this game was whether or not their defense had enough foot speed to stay with the Americans. Widely considered the answer would be no, but they've done a nice job to this point. The U.S. got one in the first. The Italians have one here in the second. We are tied with just 2:20 to play in the middle frame. Dubinsky, nice pass across, and Bellissimo makes a good save there on Mike Lundin, the defenseman, who snuck down from the right point.
Yeah, terrific stop by Bellissimo. Lundin looking for his first goal of the tournament, and he is wide open. You can see that he got away from his Czech, Michael Souza, and a point-blank bid against Bellissimo. Bellissimo plays it exceptionally well. Good push off the right skate. His shoulders are square. His arms are tucked in tight to the sides of his body. He just builds that wall, and Lundin throws it right into the midsection.
Dettoni wins the faceoff, enabling the Italians to get it deep into the American zone. Mentioned that Manuel Dettoni, the top faceoff option for Team Italy coming into tonight's action, and he showed his prowess on the dot there. Hillen for the Americans spins it down low. Oshie trying to play it off the back of the net. Moved away, and DeBetton starts the other way for the Italians. Puts it on the backhand, up on the glass and in. Dettoni goes after it, but it was swatted away, and a back-checking TJ Oshie starts out. Ahead for Yandel, who cuts to the middle as he gains the line, then takes a shot. DeMarchi blocked that. It flutters for a moment before Dettoni can put it back on the perimeter. DeMarchi had it knocked off his stick by Carter, and that enables the Americans to keep it deep. Now Dettoni plays it across. 5 seconds left in the 4-on-4. And Johnson and Scandella come out of their respective penalty box. Both teams full strength as the clock winds down now to just a minute remaining in the second period of play. Tim Kennedy for Team USA feeds it into the slot, and trying to get to it was Carter, but his stick was lifted. Good play by Trevor Johnson there. And he rolls it around the top of the dasher and out.
Yeah, nothing fancy from the Italians. Just get the puck out whenever they can. They've done a good job using the glass too, John, in the defensive zone. And here Taylor Chorney can't quite keep the puck in at the line. And the reason why is, as I mentioned, the Italians are really using the boards and the glass well. They're not putting a lot of pucks up through the middle of the ice where they might get intercepted. They're playing a very, very conservative game in the defensive zone.
A lot of youngsters on hand here this afternoon. A more family-friendly start time for this one. As we mentioned, the end of qualification play after today, as well as relegation round play. Here's a chance that Clemenson has to fight off the stick of Alexander Eger. Eger, a 12-year veteran of the Italian Professional League. Haven't seen much of him here in the second period. And maybe again a set of fresh legs as Souza tries to send it back for the goal scorer for Team Italy, Scandella. Kept alive by Marchetti, who puts it in behind the net. The final seconds of the second period ticking away. And the Americans and Italians will play one period of hockey to decide this one here this afternoon in Cologne.
Well, this is getting a little chippy towards the end of the second period. and perhaps a little bit of frustration on the part of the Americans, John. The Italians got to be thrilled. They are right where they want to be, all tied up heading into the third.
All I knew was
Championships in Cologne, Germany, the United States and Italy tied at 1 after 2. As Team Italy gets the only goal of the second period. The Americans maybe kind of just got caught going through the motions a little bit in that second period at times.
Yeah, turnover at the offensive blue line, and from the blind side, Michael Souza puts the pressure on Tim Kennedy. He coughs it up. Julio Scandella in on the breakaway, and he beats Clemenson cleanly to tie this game up for the Italians. So Tim Kennedy will feel horrible. He never saw Michael Souza coming from the blind side and was shocked, I think, when all of a sudden he was right on his shoulder and took the puck away from him.
And Brian, give credit to Souza. He recognized Kennedy, not a defenseman, didn't have any support behind him, so he attacked.
He certainly did. He got the puck. The benefactor of that was Julio Scandella. He goes in alone, and you know, it looked to me like Scott Clemenson was a little bit surprised too, John. It's unorthodox whenever you see a goaltender go for the poke check on a player who is attacking from directly in front of the goal. It's a low percentage play, quite frankly. It didn't pay off for Clemenson, and the Italians have stormed back to tie this game.
Shots on goal in that second period, even at 11 each. The power play settling. The Americans still getting their opportunities, but they fail, and the Italians have tied things up through 40 minutes of play.
And they've got hope. They have got hope to stay alive here and not be relegated. So what a third period coming up for the Italians. That's got to be one excited locker room.
A final period of play, unless we go to overtime, in the World Hockey Championships for the United States and Italy coming up.
Some insurance companies try to lure you in with promise.
And hope abounds for Team Italy as we head towards the third period of play. At the Lanxess Arena in Cologne, Germany, a 1-1 tie between the Americans and Team Italy. The other relegation round game also through 2 periods of play now. The update, Team France leading Kazakhstan 4-2. The Italians need Kazakhstan to win that game in regulation. And then an Italian victory here, and they would avoid relegation, as the Italians would then finish with 6 points and no worse than second in this pool. And a bid by Oshie off the glass lands on top of the net behind Bellissimo.
Yeah, and I think the faceoff will come outside the blue line as a result. And Gagliardi's saying, why are you taking it outside the blue line? They put their hand on top of the puck once it's settled on the top of the net. But you know how that goes in terms of winning some of those discussions with referees.
Well, that's all they are, is discussions. They're not really arguments.
One-sided.
There's not really lobbying involved, although players seem to think they are. Here's Ager into the American zone, and reaching to poke it off his stick was Matt Green. Green came into the game +4, leading the Americans in that particular statistical category. Johnson steps up to keep one alive off the stick of Bellissimo. You got to think Daniel Bellissimo expects to be busy in this third period, Brian Hayward.
Well, I think what has happened so far in this game, the Italians certainly have Team USA's attention now. I mean, we got a 1-1 game, 20 minutes left. This would be an embarrassing defeat for Team USA if they were not able to beat an Italian team that, you know, just recently made it to the top division.
You mentioned the Italians giving up nearly 38 shots on goal a game through the first 5 games in this tournament, have already surrendered 27 to Team USA through 2 periods of play. Bellissimo is rather accustomed to being busy. We mentioned that 49 save effort that he had against the Swiss in B pool play, surrendering only 2 goals on 51 shots, and we get a late offside call here against the blue-clad Italians. I was mentioning out loud earlier during our broadcast, Brian, I wondered why Team Italy with the red, white, and green flag would wear blue, but our producer Dean Walker came up big and let us know that it goes back to the period of the monarchs in Italy when they still had a king. And it's a color that they still use in all their national teams of international competition, although it goes against the colors of the flag, so to speak.
The House of Savoy, whose color was blue.
back in the days of the monarchy, which dates back to prior to World War II. Right off the face-off, good opportunity for Team USA as Moss went hard to the net. But it remains a 1-1 game. The Italians into the American zone. The captain, Rasma, trying to turn with it there. And it's knocked out of the feet of Fontanive, but still in the zone. Rossimer puts it off the back of the net. In comes Ansoldi. Fontanive dug it free and plays it up the perimeter, but the first man on it is David Moss for Team USA.
And you just get the sense that the sense of urgency for both of these two teams, John, has all of a sudden been elevated.
Dubinsky gets it to the front of the net, and it's hooked wide on a spinorama bid by Moss. David Moss had a couple of assists in the win over France 2 days ago for Team USA. Had to be a bit of a victory for Moss just to play in that game after he left the game against Kazakhstan after taking an apparent headshot late in the second period and did not return after that. So not only to play but also to contribute had to be a big plus for the Dearborn, Michigan native. Shot off the wing by Margoni is blocked in behind the American goal. Nearing the 3-minute mark of play here in the second period, and a long shot from Iannone is easily gloved off by Clemenson.
It's a tough game for Scott Clemenson to play. He has not had to face very many shots. Here's a good look. Watch this little spinorama here. It's Moss that tries to throw it towards the short side, but pretty well defended by Ramasser, John, from the backside.
Iannone finished 4th in the Italian league in scoring with 28 goals this past year. Takes that draw for Team Italy. Also was 7th in the league with 55 points, but he's been somewhat silent in this game. Patrick Iannone, British Columbia native. We got a penalty coming up here against the Italians as a shot deflected in behind the net. Touched up now by Plastino, and the Americans will get a key power play opportunity as Giorgio DeBetton is going to go off for the hook.
Yeah, and it's a good call. You see that DeBetton gets caught on the wrong side of Chris Kreider, and credit Kreider. He keeps the legs moving, he keeps driving to the front of the net, and he draws the call against DeBetton.
5th power play chance for the United States. They are 1 for 4 so far. The face-off controlled by the Italians, but sealed off at the point by Keith Yandel. Can't keep it alive up the boards, and back the other way, short-handed Ramasser, and his shot goes wide of the net. Came back to the near side. Ramasser collects it once more, but finally the Americans converge on him, and back comes TJ Oshie. He busts into the Italian zone, peels wide to the right boards, now to the corner, hooks it back. Yandel across for Jack Johnson. Johnson moves it ahead. Oposo settles it down. Back for Johnson. One-time blast deflected on the way, and Yandel all the way below the goal line to get the carom. Oposo now behind the net. Feeds it back out high. Oshie back for Oposo. Tries to spin in front. He got tripped up, and the loose puck is swept the length of the ice by the Italians.
And Team USA tried to move that puck down low, take advantage of their size advantage at the top of the goal crease. Well defended by the Italians, John. All 4 penalty killers had collapsed down well below the hash marks.
Dubinsky gave it to Johnson, who fights his way back up the right side. Once again for Yandel, a wrist shot came rocketing off the end boards to the near side post, and the Italians were there to clear it away. Johnson holds it in at the line behind the back, intended for Dubinsky, and taken away by Fontanive, who skates to an opening, and then he fired it into the American bench, and that's a bad break for the Italians. Fontanive had a lot of room to clear that puck and inadvertently put it right in the U.S. bench.
Well, here's that shot that just goes wide, and look at how lively those end boards are on shots that are coming from straight on angles. Boy, that is back to the top of the goal crease in a hurry, and that time Bellissimo got some help from his defense.
And Trevor Johnson was there to clear away the loose change. Otherwise, that could have been a tap-in. Half a minute remains in the 5th power play chance of the game for Team USA. Tied with the Italians at 1. Nearly 5 minutes into the 3rd period in Cologne. Moss's pass denied at the blue line. And a long shot by Ager is deflected out of play off the stick of green.
So just 19 seconds remaining in the penalty to Tibetan, and Team USA really has not had, with the exception of the one-point shot that went wide, John, very many good scoring chances in this one.
Face-off stays in the U.S. zone. Hager wins it back, and now just 15 seconds left in the American man advantage. Andy Green, former All-American at Miami of Ohio, leads the American rush. Pass across for Christian Hansen, and his backhander blocked, cleared away, and stepping out of the box, Tibetan nearly stepped right into that puck.
You know, I think Scott Gordon is sending a little bit of a message here, John. We're seeing on the second power play unit here for Team USA players not normally seeing those minutes. Christian Hansen has not been used in the power play much at all in this tournament. But I don't think Scott Gordon can be too pleased with the performance of some of his top-end players. I mean, said it before, we haven't seen Gagliardi or Poso in this game. And these are the guys that have to put some pucks in the net in order for the Americans to win.
Christian Hansen, son of Dave Hansen of Slapshot fame, trying that wraparound stuff on the backhand there. Pennsylvania native, foiled by Bellissimo, who has kept his Italian team in this one.
I saw a few Chiefs jerseys in the crowd at a few of the games.
Very popular in Europe. The movie that gained a great deal of popularity initially in North America. It's hard to believe, Hazy, I hate to even bring it up, some 33 years ago now. Paul Newman and the famed Hansen brothers first appeared on the scene.
Same year you graduated from college.
I was same year I was born. Ryan Patolni's shot through traffic, but not through traffic that blocked out the sun. Gloved off by Bellissimo, and we're still tied in the third on Universal Sports. Moving along now into the third period, still tied, the Italians and Americans at the Lanxess Arena in Cologne, Germany. The Americans failing on an early power play opportunity here in the third period, and Daniel Bellissimo continues to see his save numbers rise, and with each save he makes, he gives more hope to his Italian teammates.
You know what? He hasn't really been that busy, John.
No, not since the first period.
I would have expected that the Americans would have thrown 20 shots on goal in this period, entering the third tied at 1 apiece. But the energy level, for the most part, has been low in this game.
Oshie unable to get the puck to the Italian net and back the other way. With a long bid and a shot that gets through. Clemenson is Margoni. That didn't even look like a dangerous play. And all of a sudden, it's a dangerous moment for Scott Gordon and his American team, suddenly down to the Italians 2-1.
Well, it was the real, the first brain cramp of the tournament for Clemenson in terms of dealing with a shot. Margoni gets his first point of the tournament on what appears to be a relatively harmless wrist shot. But it's the old story, when you get an opportunity to put the puck on the net, just shoot it and maybe good things will happen. Boy, it's a wrist shot, and Clemenson overextends the right leg. It actually bounces in off the inside of his pad and goes between the wickets. Look, from that angle, you saw the puck drop a little bit. But Clemenson whiffs on it, and this is a shocker. The Italians with a 2-1 lead. From that angle, it may have touched Matt Gilroy's stick, John. It may have changed direction a little bit, but still, certainly a save that you would expect Clemenson, especially with as well as he has played in this tournament, to have made.
35-year-old Stefano Margoni has given the Italians their first lead, and Scott Gordon looks on and looks down and looks to find a little magic for his team. As again, as we've talked about, with every passing moment, more hope and more energy for Team Italy.
Boy, that was a good shot of Scott Gordon. That pretty much sums it up. He has not had the effort from all 20 players in his lineup required to beat this Italian team. And now These next few shifts are going to be very interesting, John, because I expect to see a full-on assault directed at Daniel Bellissimo.
Well, we've talked throughout the tournament about the different factors that play into putting together a roster for this tournament. We've talked about the disappointment the Americans feel as Dubinsky puts one off the side of the net for even being in this relegation round. But factors are not excuses. Call them what you will. Right now, Team USA is continuing to somewhat reap what they sow. When you look at this roster, it was a bit of a surprising group at the number of players that did not bring much international experience with them. I know the members of USA Hockey talked about giving new players a look and new players a chance in an Olympic year. It is difficult to do, but being in the relegation round, playing hopefully for 13th place, and now trailing in the third period to an Italian team. And look at Scott Gordon's face, and that tells you everything I'm trying to say.
Well, I honestly believe this roster should have been able to get it done against certainly Germany and Denmark in their first two games, and that's where things started to go awry.
Yeah.
I mean, they're challenged offensively. You know, there isn't a 20-goal scorer in the lineup for Team USA, but that's not unusual in an Olympic year. There's an awful lot of teams here, John, who, you know, their top-end talent is not at the World Hockey Championships because they felt like they served their countries at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, it's a difficult year to tap your best players on the shoulder just 3 months after they were playing in the Olympics for you, and every country deals with that. Team Canada, to some extent, also finding themselves in the same boat thus far through 5 games in this tournament. The Canadians have already, surprisingly to many, lost a couple of games going into their final action today.
So Team USA with only one Olympian, Jack Johnson, on their roster. Team Canada with only Corey Perry, one Olympian on their roster. And what it tells you is when you get past the top-end players, the world playing field is a little bit more level than when the big boys are out there performing for what people in world hockey circles like to call the Elite 17s.
Speed through the neutral zone for the Americans, and Bellissimo makes the save and sent crashing into the net is Eric Nystrom, knocking it off and bringing a whistle.
Well, Nystrom was hooked, and I don't believe there's going to be a call on the play, and that is a huge break for the Italians because Nystrom had speed, and watch the contact. Well, you know what? From that angle, it was mostly stick that Strasabasco got. The rebound came out.
Well, Kreider had a chance, but Strasabasco just knocked his netminder back into the net. And we'll never know, although it looked like Kreider's bid would have gone off the side of the goal.
And now, what an opportunity here for Bellissimo. As we talked about, a young man who's trying to make an impression on the world stage. He wants to leave the Italian League, would love to play at a higher caliber next season. He's got an opportunity, if he is great down the stretch here, to get a win against Team USA.
Jack Johnson's shot fought off by Bellissimo, then Kreider hooked as he tried to go after it in the corner. Again, the Italians living right as they avoid a penalty call. And while it may sound like we're being a little hard on Team USA, and maybe we are, they're playing an Italian team that had a pre-tournament ranking of 16th in the world. They have never finished higher than 12th in this decade, have the Italians, in World Championship play. So not a big surprise that we find the Italians in the relegation pool. As you mentioned earlier, Brian, maybe an expectation that the Italians would find themselves here playing for their World Championship tournament lives for next year. But it's the Americans that are the surprise team in this pool right now, and they're on the surprise end of a 2-1 deficit.
Well, two of the feel-good stories on the world stage, Denmark and Germany, and both in the same pool as Team USA, and both advanced into the qualification round.
Shot through traffic from Yandel is held by Bellissimo, who will skate away from the fracas as his Italian team leads Team USA 2-1.
Ask me.
Even time here in Cologne as we have wound the clock down under 10 minutes to go in the third period, and the Italians have taken a 2-1 lead over Team USA. A goal by Stefano Margoni here in the third, the difference in the game. Yandel gloves one down at the line and keeps it in the zone. Gagliardi kicking it ahead. Oposo got a stick on it. It's cleared over the glass and out of play. Johnson and his teammates claiming that it went off Oposo's stick.
Yeah, so is Granaccia, but you know, Johnson was kind of a bad salesman on this one, John.
Yeah, he's the only one who didn't try to lobby for that call. He went straight to the box.
Well, immediately, watch the clear. Didn't touch anybody. Look at the reaction. When the referees take a look at that, Rick Granaccia is not going to win the argument that the puck was deflected. Boy, that is a tough break for the Italians. And what a chance here for Team USA to tie this game up on the power play.
Their 6th power play chance of the game. Dubinsky off the boards, fires through the screen. The rebound was right there and knocked home by Ryan Potulny. The American power play has come through and tied the game.
Boy, it took just a few seconds, and right off of the face-off, another big face-off win for the American power play. And this is very similar to the opening goal of the game for Team USA, John. Yeah. It's about traffic in front of Bellissimo. Puck gets through, there's a rebound, and Potulny is perfectly positioned. That's a huge face-off win for Dubinsky.
It's very similar in that Dubinsky takes the shot. Moss is screening again, as was the case on the first goal, but this time there's a rebound.
You know, and I've been saying all game that the Italians have done a great job of staying on the inside of their checks. Well, on that goal, it wasn't the case. Ramasur got caught on the wrong side of Ryan Potulny. And Potulny just, you know, he's inside of him now, and he gets to the fat rebound, and it's a tap-in that ties it up for Team USA. Boy, that is a huge goal for the Americans.
Something to celebrate in Cologne. At 11:08 of the third. And Dubinsky is going to come up with his 10th point of the tournament, all in the last 3 games. He'll assist on Potulny's goal that has tied things up.
Now I'm going to go out on a limb and tell you that Bellissimo is going to have to be great, because now Team USA is going to smell blood.
Well, the Italians need to stay out of the box. The Americans now 2 for 6 on the power play. Moss throws it in front. Boy, and it went off his own defenseman before Bellissimo could cover that one up. Fontanive was standing in front. As we get another look at the power play goal by Potulny.
Yeah, it's similar in that Team USA was able to exploit the Italian penalty killing unit, who was passive as Dubinsky got the puck on the side, much like the first goal. He found that soft area and said, okay, if you're going to give me the space, I'm going to take the shot.
Good read there by Iannone, and he sends the Italians the other way, and the shot off the stick of Jack Johnson out of play. Mentioned Iannone is a big scorer in the Italian league this year, 28 goals and 55 points. Comes from the same hometown that produced Barrett Jackman and Adam Deadmarsh. A couple of long-time NHLers. Fornaccia played professionally himself in Italy and then returned to Canada, Hazy, to coach in the OHL, where he had a pretty high-profile player in Oshawa.
Eric Lindros, yeah. At the formative years of Eric Lindros, when he was the most dominant junior player to come around for a long, long time.
His Italian team even with the Americans now with under 8 to play at the Lanxess Arena in Cologne, Germany. Team USA needs only a point from this game to ensure themselves of not being relegated. But even a loss at this point, they have the goal differential to keep themselves out of relegation. Back come the Italians in a long shot, steered aside off the stick of Scandella as Clemenson, a little more sure of himself. That came from the same general area that the wrist shot goal scored by Margoni came from.
Assisted by number 17, Brad Dubinsky, and by number 97.
Puck stripped in the neutral zone by the Americans, but recovered by the Italians, who get it deep. Yandel moves it along. And into the middle of the ice, the Americans able to bring it out center. Nystrom hits the brakes, goes behind the back to find Yandel, and now a poke check knocks it free for Team Italy. Ager gets it over, and Scandella's backhander missed the net.
Boy, that line's been dangerous. Egger, Scandella, they've had a couple of chances here.
Oh, Scandella on the doorstep, and a right pad save by Clemenson. He had more room and time than I think he realized.
I don't know that Scott Clemenson knew where that puck was. When Scandella threw it into his feet, I think it just hit him.
Golden opportunity for Giulio Scandella, who had the first goal of the game for Italy back in the second period. Now it's Oshie with Gagliardi into the Italian zone, and that's kicked away from TJ Gagliardi, thrown through the middle by Oberach and intercepted by Oposo. Oberach starts back with it once more. Oh, he gets crunched by Oshie, who broke up his pass.
What a hit by Oshie. Man, he just lowered the boom. Perfect shoulder check.
Max Oberach has not seen much action tonight. He may wish that he didn't see as much as he did after that hit by TJ Oshie. Oshie then strips him in the defensive zone, but the Italians cover up.
He may have not been as crisp handling the puck, John, at the end of that shift after being just demolished by Oshie.
Borgatello starts back, winds from center and drifts it over top of the American goal. Under 5.5 to play. Dubinsky bumps his man along the boards. Marchetti steps up. His shot is blocked out, and back come the Americans in a hurry. Dubinsky has Moss with it. Finds the trailer in late. Oh, a chance for Foligno. And Bellissimo may have gotten a piece of it.
Yeah, big stop by Bellissimo, because great penetration by the Americans. You know, center lane drive backed off the Italian defense, and there was all kinds of space for Foligno.
Ramasur goes up the middle but fails to clear. David Moss picks it up, walks in, and fired it wide. Fontanini for the Italians slides it across. Ramasur sends it right back through the slot. Wild swing taken at it by Johnson. It goes wide off the end boards, recovered by the Italians. And solely to the front of the net is again, it's Johnson in a shooting gallery, but he keeps missing the net. DeMarchi kept it in for a moment, and back come the Americans with numbers. Moss leads it ahead. And a big save. Rebound. Moss had a chance, and Bellissimo stymies him once more. Team USA storming the Italian net, still tied late in the third on Universal Sports.
You look...
Cologne, Germany was settled in 38 BC. Scott Gordon hasn't been on the American bench that long, but sometimes the look on his face tells you that it feels that way. It has not been an easy tournament for the Americans all the way to the very end, because the Italians are giving them nothing easily.
Well, Scott Gordon, like many coaches, not real demonstrative behind the bench. Hard to tell whether his team is winning or losing, but there's no question he has been very frustrated with his club's performance in this one this afternoon.
Ryan Carter pitches a backhander towards the net, and Bellissimo got a piece of the right pad on it. The Italians and Americans tied at 2 under 4 to play in regulation. Carter winds it up the right side, trying to get wide on Plastino, peels back, fires it to an on-rushing Andy Green off the left point, and it went through him. Mike Lundin back to retrieve for the Americans. Green shovels it ahead. It bounces through for Kennedy. Kennedy for Carter. Back to Kennedy. Carter's shot saved by Bellissimo, and he covers up.
What a stop. I mean, I don't know what happened, but the Italian defender, I think it was Plastino, who was out on the ice, John, did a flyby in the neutral zone right there, and all of a sudden we got a 3-on-1 break for the Americans. What a stop by Bellissimo on Carter. Carter with a point-blank bid, and he was just beaten by a better save.
The game was on the stick to the former standout from Minnesota State, Mankato, but Bellissimo denies, and 3.5 is all that remains in regulation. Brian Patulny, whose power play goal tied it up here in the third, unable to corral it in the neutral zone, and Clemenson makes the save on Scandella. Scandella has been one of the better players for the Italians, offensively speaking, in this game. He has one of their 2 goals. And you can see the shots on goal by a wide margin favoring the Americans. Bellissimo with 41 saves. His second 40-plus save performance in this tournament. Johnson uses the end boards to give it to his partner, Matt Green. The Grand Ledge, Michigan native, plays it back, and Johnson stretches it ahead. This will be an icing call against the Americans as Kreider did not touch that pass.
Yeah, and an opportunity here for the Italians. Offensive zone face-off. For the most part, Team USA has seemingly won the draws at will, John, in this game. But a very nervous moment over at the American bench. It will be Potolny that steps in to try and pull this puck back.
Potolny, second best face-off option throughout this tournament for Scott Gordon, and he wins it. Johnson moves away from Ramasur. His pass bounces out to Fonteneve, and he tried to give it back to Ramasur, who was dumped. And again, it's the Americans who are whistled for icing down to 2:36 remaining in the third period.
Yeah, puck was drilled into the middle of the ice and mishandled. And what Scott Gordon right now is saying to Jack Johnson is, you know, we got to keep the feet moving here. We open up passing lanes if you're a defenseman by keeping the feet moving.
They move the face-off to the right of Scott Clemenson. Clemenson has yielded only 2 goals in this relegation round, both coming here this afternoon against the Italians. Fonteneve went down off the draw. And you can see everybody looking up at the scoreboard. The Italian centerman, the diminutive one, 5'5", 161 for Nicola Fonteneve.
It's not fair. He's closer to the ice when they drop the puck.
He steps in and wins the draw, but it comes out to neutral ice. The Italians spin it back in.
You can see that that was a matchup situation for Carnacci and another adventure for Clemenson in behind the goal line.
It doesn't even really reek of miscommunication. It just is always an adventure when Clemenson wanders out to play it. Now we got a whistle. I believe the call was a hand pass.
Hand pass
out of the defensive zone against Team USA.
Right. So third consecutive face-off now deep in Team USA territory, and it is nail-biting time.
Well, you look up at the screen and you don't see enough time left. Or do you? Depends on one's perspective. Italy wins the draw. Plastino leans on one that goes wide. A diving effort by Oshie to try to get it out of the zone. He gets up and now kicks it out himself. Oshie, great individual effort as he goes from the defensive zone to the offensive zone to get it deep. Margioni digs it out and feeds it back. The Italians clear. This will be an icing call with just a $1:51 to play in regulation, and now the key face-off in the Italian zone.
Well, best player on the ice in tonight's game for Scott Gordon has been Brandon Dubinsky. So let's see if Dubinsky settles in to try and win another draw. It is Dubinsky.
Face-off to the right of Bellissimo. A minute 51 remaining in regulation, and he does win it cleanly. Green takes the shot that Karam's in behind the goal. Dubinsky collects it there. He's figured in both U.S. goals, scoring one and assisting on another. Brandon Dubinsky has his shot deflect off Iannone in behind the net. Strazabasco battles with with Oposo for it there. Strazabasco knocks it loose, and Iannone lifts it back. Reaching to get it is Mike Lundin. Angles it ahead of the Americans, right back in the Italian zone. Dubinsky spins away from the defender. Gets help from Oposo. Oposo fires it off a bad angle off of Bellissimo. And John Parco kicks it ahead. Back comes Team Italy. Oh, and Clemenson reaches behind him, and oh, Bellissimo can't believe it at the other end. Alexander Ager had the game on his stick.
Oh, he thought it was in. I think Clemenson thought it was in. He took a peek. It's a little give and go. Great little pass back. Look at this sweet feed. Ager gives it up, gets it back. Borgatello puts it right on the tape. He thought he had found the 5-hole. The Italians would have been inches away from taking the lead.
Americans win the draw. We are down to 1 minute remaining in regulation. Green fires it down, the race for the loose puck. Marchetti knocked down. Moss comes in, but he keeps it alive long enough to allow the Italians to feed it back through center. Intercepted by Green. Ahead for Moss, who knocks it down. Walks in, backhander. Saved by Bellissimo. Loose at the side of the goal. And he covers up both goaltenders with huge saves in the final 90 seconds.
Can you believe it? Very few open chances in this game, and then all of a sudden Both goalies face breakaways. David Moss goes to the backhand. Look at the push. Wow, off the left skate by Bellissimo to get across to just stuff David Moss.
So now a key draw to the right of Bellissimo in the Italian zone. Moss can't believe it. Dubinsky battles for it. Plastino tries to go ahead with it. Knocked down by Nystrom. 35 seconds left. Oh, there goes Bellissimo to the bench. The Italians want to go for the extra skater. They have nothing to lose. Trying to get the win that they have to have. Fired off the angle. Clemenson makes the save on Fontani. He'll pull it in and cover up with just 23 seconds remaining.
Well, smart move. Carnaccia knows he's got to get the win in regulation, John. If it goes to overtime...
Yeah, there won't be enough points available for his team to make a difference.
Right. A win in overtime or in the shootout is only worth 2. You win in regulation, you get 3, and Italy needs 3.
So with 23 seconds remaining in regulation, timeout Team Italy as Carnaccia circles the troops. It's a very calculated risk. He knows what is at stake. The final from the other relegation game is in. The French defeat Kazakhstan 5-3. So that solidifies the need for 3 points tonight for Team Italy.
Well, you have to give this Italian team just so much credit in this game. I mean, the game plan was to hang around and keep it close, and they've been able to do that. Bellissimo was good in the first period, John. I didn't think he was tested much in the second. He's come up with some big stops late here in the third.
Draw deep in the American zone, controlled by Team USA. Johnson moves it ahead. Dubinsky able to angle it back, and that forces Plastino to play it. 10 seconds left in regulation. It's cleared around the boards. And back come the Italians. Alsondi knocked down, and Matt Green lifts it back. And that will do it. Regulation comes to a close. A 2-2 tie here in Cologne. Team USA and the Italians will continue on in overtime after this on Universal Sports. For the third time in 6 tournament games in these World Championships, Team USA goes to overtime today with Team Italy tied at 2. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, Brian Hayward, by simply getting to overtime, the Americans have now avoided relegation, and they will finish first in the relegation pool as they pick up a point for the regulation tie.
And it's all about pride now for Team Italy, because they know that they can get no more than 5 points, and so they will be relegated. But I'll tell you what a psychological boost it would be for this group if they can find a way to win this game, and they've got a great chance here.
Overtime, 5 minutes of 4-on-4, and it begins with Dubinsky trying to slide it over to Yandel, broken up and brought back by Ager, but he runs out of gas at the American blue line. Dubinsky turns with it, makes a move, and heads up ice. Boy, has he played an awful lot today for Scott Gordon. Over to Yandel, who fakes the one-timer, then takes the wrist shot, and Bellissimo squeezes that.
No difficulty whatsoever for Bellissimo. You know what? When you're the goaltender for the team that is outgunned, as Daniel Bellissimo is, you're going to hang on to every puck. You're not going to keep pucks alive. You're going to give your head coach, especially in a 4-on-4 situation here in the OT session, you're going to give him every opportunity to get the right personnel on the ice.
Good look at Nick Plastino, a native of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Played for the Barrie Colts in the OHL before coming to Italy. Plastino just 24 years of age, speaking of players who play an awful lot for this Italian team. Both teams have led by 1 at one point in this game, as Patolni, whose power play goal forced this overtime, loses it in the Italian zone. Iannoni with a rolling puck, and Clemenson able to steer that aside. Just over a minute into the bonus hockey from Cologne, Germany. Team USA and Italy tied at 2. Kyle Oposo unable to get to the middle of the ice and between the circles in the Italian zone. Plastino leads it back. Across the line, drops it off. Fontanive moves it into the middle. Oh, all alone on a cut backhand. Soldi turned away by Clemenson.
Boy, he's had his chances in this game. Luca and Soldi has had 3 or 4 real good bids against Clemenson.
Johnson turns out of the corner looking for Foligno across the crease. And Johnson tied up Gagliardi, keeping him from redirecting that pass. Trevor Johnson gets the center red line and fires it in.
You know, if you're the Italian team, I don't think they would mind if this went to a shootout. I mean, they feel like they've got a real hot goaltender in Bellissimo. And you get the sense in watching this overtime session is that for the most part it is Team USA attacking and the Italians just kind of hanging back.
Margoni, who has one of the 2 Italian goals, going to the front of the net. DeMarchi trying to retreat back defensively, and he loses the puck. Here's Foligno. Foligno in behind DeMarchi, goes to the backhand, forced in behind the net, and then his centering pass was blocked off. Good recovery there by the Italians as Fontanive got in the passing lane. Kreider drags it along the boards, hit by DeMarchi. Pulls it back, but the Italian defenseman comes away with it. DeMarchi leads it the other way, and a pass at center ice picked up by Scandella. Tries to sidestep Hillen and gets it deep into the American zone. Now just 2 minutes remaining in overtime. TJ Oshie up the right side, gets a step. Cuts to the front of the net on the backhand, and he didn't get the shot away.
Boy, that rebound came out to the front of the goal, and I do believe that Gagliardi got a little crack at it.
Scandella throws it to the front of the American net. Hillen gloves it down, and off to the races he goes the other way with Oshie.
Yeah, long shift for TJ Oshie, and not much left. He's got to get back to the American bench in a hurry.
Strasabasco, all 6'4" of him, makes the pass through the middle. Ager collects it, gives it to Souza. His shot off the wing is gloved by Clemenson.
Well, I have been very impressed with the Italian game plan in this one. Not blessed with a lot of talent. There was that bid by Gagliardi. I think Bellissimo may have got a little piece. Or was it Chris Kreider? Excuse me, it was Chris Kreider, John, that chopped that puck through the goal crease.
Well, you can see Bellissimo didn't have his stick, making it all that much more difficult for the Italian netminder. Just 1:10 left in overtime. Michael Souza sends it right through the American crease. It angles to the line, and it's kept in. Good hustle play there. Souza trying to center for Iannone, but that's broken up. Yandel fires it off the boards and away to center. Here's Dubinsky on his own into the Italian zone, waiting for help. The pass comes across, goes off the skate of Kennedy, who came in late.
Yeah, and again, it was Bellissimo showing that good lateral mobility.
Oh, Kennedy got it to Dubinsky. I don't know if Bellissimo got a piece of his glove on that or not. He appeared to have a lot of net to shoot at. Now Yandel wanders all the way below the goal line, and his pass back vacates the zone. The race is on for the loose puck. Plastino gets to it, tries to drop it back, but doesn't connect with 25 seconds left in overtime. Does Dubinsky have anything left in the tank? He makes a move in the neutral zone. In on the right side, right into the middle. Nice pass, and Oposo broke his stick.
He took the shot, and the Italian defender, I think it was Hofer, was right in front of his own goal, and Bellissimo had to fight that one off.
Brian, I think it's Hofer's stick that ended up breaking. Oposo dropped his because he thought it was his. This does not go off Bellissimo's glove. It goes off the outside of the post.
Yeah, what an opportunity. Look at Scott Gordon taking a peek up at the scoreboard here, taking a good look at the video replay.
And now the Americans will exercise their timeout. Brandon Dubinsky has been very good in this game. And for a guy who doesn't show his emotions on the bench much, we've gotten some good looks on the replays from Scott Gordon here down the stretch this afternoon.
And the guy that's really hoping that his team can find a way to put a puck behind Bellissimo is Scott Clemenson. He doesn't want this thing to go to a shootout.
It was Todd Richards, you see the gentleman to the left of Scott Gordon with the clipboard, who was basically holding court there during that timeout, the head coach of the Minnesota Wild for Team USA, one of the assistants. And let's see what he's drawn up for the Americans here in the waning seconds of overtime. Tied at 2 with Team Italy. The Americans win the draw. Yandel back to the point, tries to just throw it to the net, and that off an Italian stick out of play. Just 6 seconds remaining in overtime.
Unbelievable. 2-2 game. DeMarchi stays on the ice because his head coach, Rick Cornacchio, wants the big body out there for this faceoff.
Patolny to take the draw for the Americans against Fontanive, who goes forward for Team Italy, and that clears the zone, and that'll effectively bring an end to overtime, and we will go to a shootout between the Italians and the Americans in Cologne, Germany at the Lanxess Arena.
Regardless of the result, John, this is a huge moment for the Italian national team to tie Team USA, go through the overtime session still tied, and now have an opportunity to steal the game in the shootout. Remarkable performance by Team Italy.
Well, the Italians have twice beaten the Americans in the previous 6 meetings at World Championship play. However, they were unable to get past the U.S. the last time these teams met, which was 8 years ago, a 5-2 win for Team USA. So, as Brian mentioned, a victory of sorts for Team Italy, because we are going to a shootout in Cologne at the Lanxess Arena here this afternoon.
You saw Scott Gordon say to the referee, how many shooters do I need to designate? It is 3 shooters apiece, designated by the respective head coaches to open the shootout round.
We'll resurface and be back with the shootout after this. That this World Championship would last longer for them, but I don't think this is what they had in mind. They end up in overtime and now subsequently in a shootout against Team Italy. This will be their last action of these World Championships. They have avoided relegation, but we still don't have a final count in this one. TJ Oshie, the first American shooter.
Oshie, then Johnson, Patolny, Eger, Scandella, and Soldi for the Italians.
Bellissimo's been good, and he faces the right-hand shooting Oshie, and he dances around him and pots it home. Boy, Oshie made that look easy.
Well, he has tremendous hands, and he gets in right on top of the goaltender. He comes in slow, which is a tough thing for a goalie, and that little fake, you could see that Bellissimo buys it, and it's a wide-open net for Oshie.
So the additional point is on the line. Each team has picked up 1 for getting to this point. Alexander Eger, the first shooter, goes to the backhand and roofs it. Boy, he shows off some hands himself.
Yeah, that's a nice little play by Eger. A little fake and all-in-one motion. Look a little bit like Tamer Solani on this play, John. Watch the hands here. All-in-one motion, quick little hoist over the glove of Clemenson, and the shootout is tied.
Yeah, he didn't look like a guy who scored 2 goals in 37 games in the Swedish Elite League. Jack Johnson is denied at the other end by Bellissimo as he tried to come back to the forehand.
Good stop by Bellissimo, who stayed right with Jack Johnson. And now the pressure will shift to Clemenson. It looked like Johnson may have just lost possession of the puck at the moment of truth.
Scandella had 1 of the 2 goals in the game for the Italians, and Clemenson turns him away.
He was thinking 5-hole the whole way, and he was just staring at the 5-hole, and Clemenson, the veteran, just basically stood there and wouldn't give it up.
Something you don't see in National Hockey League shootouts. When they're not shooting on the goalie at the other end, they go to their respective benches here. I don't know whether that's required or not, but the final shooter for Team USA, Patolny. He had a goal on the power play in the 3rd, and I don't know if Bellissimo got it or if that went off the post.
Patolny threw a little bit of everything at Bellissimo. Give it the old motorcycle kickstart halfway down.
Change speeds.
Change speeds. There's the kickstart.
And it did hit the post.
Rings it off the post. And what an opportunity here now for Luca and Soldi. He can win it with a goal.
The Italians with a chance to win. Right-hand shooting, and Soldi comes in slow and hoisted it over top.
He was trying to go high glove, and it looked like he made a pretty good shot, John. It'll be interesting to see whether or not this catches a piece of the pipe or not. Oh, just over top of the crossbar. Boy, he had his shot, and he had a little space.
Now you can repeat shooters as much as you want. And TJ Oshie comes back out for the Americans, but they're going to change the order here. This is where the Italians now get to go first.
Yeah, if it's tied after 3 shooters, then you have the option of using the same shooter each and every time. But now you go in reverse order. So whereas Team USA shot first, now Team Italy will shoot first.
And Ager, who scored on Clemenson in the regular shootout, comes in and Clemenson flashes the right pad.
And he goes to a different move. He goes to the forehand. Remember, it was a backhander by Ager that beat him. He tried to switch it up, and Clemenson just stayed right with him. Good stop by Scott Clemenson.
So now TJ Oshie can go back out. He scored in the regular shootout, and he can win it for Team USA. Comes in slowly, and oh, it got through Bellissimo and off the post.
Oh, my goodness. What a break. Oshie has the 5-hole picked. It goes off the inside of the goaltender's leg pad, then hits the post and stays out. Look at that. Oshie can't believe it.
How do you keep? But the scoreboard will say USA 3, Italy 2.
And finally, the American bench can smile. They go through the relegation round with 3 consecutive victories. And the fans here are paying a nice tribute to both of these teams, John. And you have to admire what the Italians were able to do. Outmanned, outgunned. They found a way to get this game into overtime and into a shootout. But they couldn't handle TJ Oshie. Boy, look at that. I mean, he's just throwing everything. He had Bellissimo just spinning.
Well, that's a lot of pressure to go 5 times in a shootout, but the pressure is now off TJ Oshie's shoulders as he and Team USA survive Italy in a shootout here this afternoon. The final score, Team USA 3, the Italians 2 from the Lanxess Arena in Cologne, Germany. Quarterfinal action of the World Hockey